We begin this morning with Iowa's Education Savings Account program. The application period is open right now. For next school year, the program will provide more than $7,800 per Iowa student to cover tuition, fees, and other education expenses at a private school. This week, we spoke with the headmaster at Rivermont Collegiate to discuss some of the common misconceptions about the application process that he's come across working with parents.
And joining us now is Max Roach, headmaster at Rivermont Collegiate. Max, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this week.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
We want to talk about ESAs, but I want to get a sense of when the ESA program was introduced, and it's obviously still basically brand new. What did your institution experience? Did you see a lot of folks taking advantage of that?
We saw a lot of people who are curious. Certainly this legislation and financial support gave more people a reason than ever to consider whether or not their public school was serving them in the way they wanted their children served. So we did see an uptick in enrollment, not huge though. And we did see a huge uptick in people just wanting to learn more about private schools in general and how it works. I think, unfortunately, there was a lot of confusion in the initial rollout. And so we had several people who wanted to continue applying, but the enrollment deadline had passed last summer. So this year, with a longer enrollment period and opportunities to clarify common misunderstandings like this, we are hoping to fill up our classes.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those misunderstandings. What are they? What don't folks understand? And perhaps, I haven't, maybe looked into it enough to know where all the pitfalls and all the turns are. Walk me through that.
This is for Iowa citizens. And essentially what it does is it sets apart a fund that will follow your child to a private school. It's a natural extension of a law that existed previously called open enrollment, where students could open enroll from one school to another. And most of the funds would follow that child to the other school. What they did last year and what's new is that they will be using some of those funds will follow the child to a private school. The biggest misunderstanding is in who qualifies. And that's because they had to figure out a way to roll out this program for families who are currently already enrolled in private schools. The state didn't want to go from 0 to 100, and so they needed to ramp that up. So who qualifies is anybody leaving a public school and going into a non-public school. So if you're leaving a Davenport or Clinton or Pleasant Valley, Bettendorf, or even some of the farther away ones and going to Rivermont Collegiate, then you qualify without, regardless of your household income. And that household income bit is the part that got a lot of people tripped up. You had to have 300% of the national poverty line or less in your household income to qualify, but only if you were already attending a private school. So a lot of people who are attending public schools were interested, but they thought they had to meet a certain income threshold, and they were maybe nervous about submitting their, how do they determine my household income? But I cannot say strongly enough, those household income stipulations only apply to people who are already enrolled in non-public schools. Anybody who's enrolled in a public school currently qualifies. One thing that's surprising to me is how easy it is to go on and fill out this form and apply for ESA funds. I know people often worry about the finances and submitting their finances. Literally, it takes 5 minutes on a website. It's just slick as can be. People usually find out very quickly whether or not they've been approved. And it's really far easier than everybody thinks it will be. I just hear it all the time that, oh gosh, I went on and I had my state Iowa tax documents in hand. I looked at the line, I entered the number, some other very basic non-invasive questions, and boom, it was done.
What is your encouragement then at this point to folks who are in that position to say, hey, my kids are in public school, I'd like to consider a private school, whether it's Rivermont Collegiate or any other private institution?
Sure.
Because not only is there the ESA program that is there, but you have to be accepted into these schools. So you can't sort of delay at this point, right?
Right. There's a lot to say with what you just said. We always encourage people to, if you have any interest in just learning more, you learn more through the application process. And that goes whether or not you're looking at Rivermont Collegiate or some other school. It's the application process where the school gets to know you and your children, and you get to know the school, you get to ask your questions, you get to see the facility, and so on. So I always encourage people, even if you're just curious, great, be curious, go for a tour, fill out an application. Application is not obligation. An application is just going on the first date together.
We were talking before our interview started about financial aid, and that's obviously a big part of what you do
Yes.
and what Rivermont Collegiate offers. Can you talk a little bit about that, even just generally speaking, because there may be thoughts in people's minds that they're interested in this, but the ESA maybe won't cover everything that they need it to cover. So there are options for people. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because that is something that we worry about. We worry about sticker shock. We are the most expensive game in town. We're ranked among the top 7% of all the schools in the United States. We're the #1 college prep school. We're the #1 for this and that. That's because our expenses are higher. It costs Rivermont Collegiate over $22,000 per year to educate each one of our students. Our tuition is $14,580. So where does the difference come from? Right. And that's full tuition. That's if you're paying full tuition. The difference comes from fundraising, from generous supporters of the school, international partners. We have a myriad of different revenue streams that I need in order to make payroll every year. So that's a big part of my job, is making sure that we have the money to not only go above and beyond what the sticker price is, but then 40% or more of our students on any given year receive financial aid. Right. So how we fund that is through fundraising, galas, local partnerships, and so on. So we do award merit-based financial aid, but people do need to demonstrate need as well.
This year, do you expect to see more people applying and using the ESAs to attend your school?
Yes, we are already seeing a surge in applications, and we're giving lots of tours. I expect to see that we will hit some of our enrollment goals in several grades.
All right. Max Roach, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this week.
Oh, it was my pleasure.